Well, hello, Janine Cammarata here. A lot has happened in Chapter 9, a lot of emotions, a lot of action. And so now we are going to see what happens in Chapter 10 as the kids venture back home after they have bonded with their dragons. So let's see where they go from here. Chapter 10. It was the Friday of Labor Day weekend, only a few more days until school started, but it had been a week since their dragons had hatched. Luke had been in the hospital since their last trip, so they knew their wish had not been granted. The quest wasn't over. The kids texted images and thoughts that popped in their heads during the day or while deep in sleep. Luke was comforted by both Shimmer and Norris's voices, but they were like whispers in the wind. Rose texted, "I had a dream about Sparkle last night." "Yeah, so did Peter about Patch," Luke texted back. "I haven't had any dreams, but I feel like something big is going to happen that will change our lives forever. I'm coming home tomorrow. We should get together." Peter texted separately to Rose, "Why don't you come over early tomorrow and we can put the puzzle back together? My mom found it and took it apart." "I'll be there," Rose replied. By 9 a.m., Rose and Peter searched both Luke's and Peter's room. Then they rummaged through this game closet looking for the puzzle of Merryweather and Shimmer. They emptied the shelves filled with games like Hungry Hungry Hippo, Clue, Uno, chess, and numerous other puzzles. "Where is it?" Peter fell back on his butt and pounded his fists on the gray rug. "Let's ask your mom," Rose suggested. "Good idea." Peter texted his mom, who was at the hospital with Luke. Her reply sent a chill through his entire body. Rose shook Peter's arm. "What did she say?" Peter stared at his friend. "She gave it away." Rose screamed, "Oh no, what are we going to do? Without that puzzle, we can't save Luke." Peter thought quickly and then pulled Rose's arm to follow him. "Hey, Dad," he called while stepping into the garage. His dad was working on one of his vintage motorcycles and didn't look up. "Rose and I are going on a bike ride." At his dad's grunt, they each took a bike, threw on helmets, and took off. They started the 2-mile bike trek to the local Salvation Army store. It was beyond where they were allowed to ride, but nothing mattered except finding that puzzle. Luke's life literally depended on them getting it back. Peter wouldn't think about how much weaker Luke had become since they came home. He wasn't sure what it meant, but without the connection to the dragons and Merryweather, they were lost. Locking their bikes, they entered the single room filled with clothes, household knickknacks, books, games, and furniture. Rose marched right up to the counter and asked a gray-haired lady, "Excuse me, where are the puzzles?" The lady removed her silver eyeglasses and peered at Rose. "Well, let me see." Peter let out a low growl of frustration and Rose shushed him. The old lady shuffled to a far wall. "This is where our games and kids' activities are stored. Puzzles are on the shelf." She pointed to a bookcase full of puzzle boxes. They were smaller boxes scattered in a basket. "Thank you," Rose said. Peter pulled each box out, even though he could see the pictures on the side. He wasn't taking a chance in missing it. "What will we do if he's not here? If it's not here?" Peter asked partly to himself. "It's here, Peter. It has to be. Too many people need us. Keep looking." They searched through all the puzzles. "It's not here," Peter said, flopping his arms to his sides. "Now what?" A second bookcase had books haphazardly stored on it. "Let's look through this. The box could be in this mess," Rose said, determined not to give up. Peter sat on a bench while Rose searched in a pile of boxes. Peter stared at the shelf, thinking it was over. He would never see Patch again. Merryweather would never find her parents, and she'd be forced to marry that gross guy, Lord Tam. Luke would... A glint of color caught his eye. It shimmered with sparkling blue highlights. Peter stood and stared at a box on top of the bookshelf. He found a stool and reached to grab a puzzle. Jumping down, he stared at the top. Realizing he stopped, Rose asked, "What did you find?" Peter couldn't find the words, so he passed the puzzle to her. For the first time in their friendship, Rose was at a loss for words. It wasn't the picture of Merryweather and Shimmer reading a book together, but of dragons. Their dragons. They were huge, but absolutely Boulder, Sparkle, Patch, and Norris as they flew over their castle. "I think we were meant to find this puzzle," Peter finally said. "I agree. Let's buy it and get back to your house. We need to put this together." Luke arrived home from the hospital with his mom and Mark. He was ashen, and his father easily picked him up to help him into the house. His father brought him downstairs and laid him on the plush couch. Luke looked around the room that had been updated to a pseudo-man cave for his return home. Posters from their favorite video games were displayed next to a signed poster from the New York Giants' Eli Manning, whom the boys had just met at training camp. After his dad left, Luke stared at the puzzle of 4 dragons and asked, "Where is the other puzzle?" Peter and Rose started in at the same time. "Puzzle's gone," Peter said. "Road to Salvation Army," Rose began. Mark held up his hands. Slow down. We can't understand you. Rose took a deep breath, got the nod to explain from Peter, and shot off like a horse at the starting gate. Your mom gave the puzzle away. And some of our games, Peter piped in. That's sad, Peter, but not important right now. Anyway, she gave it away. Peter and I rode our bikes to town. We went to Salvation Army to buy it back, but it wasn't there. This one was there instead. Luke stopped her. You rode by yourselves? The younger siblings nodded and beamed with pride. And Dad let you? Luke asked. They both at least had some sense to look guilty. Luke pulled out 2 marbles from his pockets and twirled them in his hand. Whether from worry about what could have happened or excitement about the puzzle, no one was sure. Okay, but next time let us know. All of them worked for an hour on the 500-piece puzzle, each separating the colors of the personal dragon, feeling closer to them as their forms solidified. They were down to the last piece, and Peter automatically handed it to Luke. Luke stared at it and gave it back to Peter. You and Rose found the puzzle. I think one of you should put the piece in. You do it, Peter, Rose said. Peter shrugged and said, okay. Peter held up the last piece, looked at his friends and brother, and placed it to complete the picture of his dragon patch. The puzzle glowed, but the dragons didn't pop into their world. What should we do? Rose asked. Let's touch the puzzle, Luke said. They touched the puzzle and shafts of iridescent light surrounded them. They arrived in the training area. Merryweather rushed toward them as Luke fell to the ground, fainting. Luke woke up on thick blankets in the main room next to the fire. He moved his fingers and lifted his arms. His rash and even the bruises from his IVs were gone. Gingerly, he sat up and stretched. Shimmer growled in greeting, and Luke stood to pet her. Yes, I'm much better now. He saw his brother, friends, and Merryweather on the balcony watching something in the sky. He joined them. They all clamored to be next to him, touching him, and hugging him while expressing their deep concern. I'm fine now. I think the journey was a bit too much for me coming right out from the hospital. Look, Luke, Rose said, taking his hand and pointing toward the sky with her other hand. Luke gasped as he saw 4 huge dragons spiraling through the air. How did they grow so fast? Merryweather said, time travels much faster here. A month has gone by and they are full grown. We were very fortunate as Tam and his terrible Trollocs tried to break down our castle walls and have terrorized our villagers. Merryweather visibly shuddered, and last time he almost succeeded. Shimmer was forced to fight against her own dragon. If she hadn't, all your dragons would have been captured. I don't think Sierraton was physically hurt. However, the training that Tam has pushed him through will make it harder for Shimmer to get him to come back to her. His name means Black Dragon, and the longer he is away from us, the darker his heart will become. What do you need us to do? Mark asked. I need you to train with the dragons as soon as possible. The time has come to rid our land of this enemy. As the dragons swooped past the balcony toward the arena, Merryweather beckoned them to follow her. Come, it is time to train. As they left the room, Merryweather motioned for Luke to stay behind. She placed a warm hand to his cheek. His face was cool, eyes clear. Are you well? I'm much better here. I'll be fine and can do my part, Luke said, not wanting Merryweather to think he couldn't lead the quest. I would never doubt you. She dropped her hand, resigned. Know that you always have a place here. Luke's eyebrows scrunched together in confusion. I know I do, but I don't want my brother and friends to worry so much. Everything will work out. Merryweather's eyes filled, but she forced a smile. Go join your dragon. Norris has been waiting for you. She didn't have to ask twice. Luke bounded off to join Norris. Shimmer growled, and Merryweather touched her dragon's iridescent scales. I know. He will figure it out. I only hope his dragon and friends will accept it when the time comes. Shimmer flew out off the balcony and met them below. Shimmer shifted to the side as Norris saw Luke. He reared up onto his hind legs, expanded his chest, and flexed his wings like he was displaying some ripped python. Nice, Luke grinned. He wore his favorite red-sleeved t-shirt, displaying the words USA and the colors of the American flag. Mimicking his dragon, he flexed. Norris roared in approval and wrapped his wings around Luke. Rose shifted impatiently for Sparkle to land and was soaked to the skin by what felt like a waterfall. What was that? Rose asked. She spun around at the gurgling sound and couldn't help but smile at Sparkle as she lay in a puddle of her own making. You're a bad, ginormous dragon, Sparkle, but so cute. I can't be mad at you. Rose jumped in the puddles and splashed her dragon. Mark stood away from everyone, holding onto his satchel. He saw what only could be described as a large gray rock a few feet away from him. Moving closer, he whispered, Hey, big guy, did you miss me? Boulder lifted his head and his eyes, now a deeper shade of gray, gleamed at Mark. The pencil-tip-colored dragon opened his wing, and Mark settled next to him. Do you want to see my drawings of you? He took what he thought was a nod and opened his sketchbook. Peter had watched his brother and friends greet their dragons. Patch was hiding behind Shimmer and appeared content there. Peter was Patch was hiding, and Peter wanted to see him very badly, but didn't want to scare him. So he hummed the song Bingo and clapped his hand. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see two dark blue eyes observing him. The circle around his eye was thicker. Peter hopped around and added some extra beats to his song as he slapped his hands to his sides. Without warning, Patch waddled out from behind his mother and cooed. Peter's eyes grew large, and he was filled with love for this adorable creature. He was still rotund with baby fat, and his blue scales glimmered like a pale summer sky. Patch stopped in front of Peter and held his wings open wide. Peter ran into them, and they fell to the ground in a big baby hug. Luke was astonished at these dragon creatures. Who would have thought that one day he would find not only one, but 6? Well, 7, but he hadn't met Copper yet. He always knew they existed, and he couldn't wait to write a story about them to share with his mom. He saw tears stream down Merryweather's face. That was lovely, Merryweather said, clapping her hands together. Can we ride them, Rose wanted to know. They need to get used to you first and be fitted with saddles. For now, let us talk. Short but very sweet chapter, and if you saw the dog walking behind me and sniffing my face, that is Dakota. And just a preview for in book 4, which is called Secret Treasures, that is actually being written right now. DK is the dog that will be in there with Peter, and that's the inspiration that it came from, is our dog Dakota. So there you go, a little hint for future books. And so we will see you next time. Bye-bye.